Hello and welcome, Dr. Eugene Bagristov speaking again, and I had an interesting problem and I also had an interesting request that I could resolve in a very interesting way, and I would like to share it with you. I had to develop two discrete choice experiments in order to answer the research question which one of my students asked himself. And the other problem which I had to develop two discrete choice experiments in one because I had to split my file, my test, because it was too big. I'm just going to show you how I did it and how it worked. So I go to attribute 1, and we had experiment like this, like attribute. I think we had 7 pieces of attribute. Then we had plenty of text 1, and it went like this. Then we had plenty of text 2, 1, and like this, and we had again plenty of text 3, I think we had here 2, 3, 1, and like this. And then we had the last attribute where the scalable variables, I think it was the price, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we developed a discrete choice experiment using the SDT tool, which you already know. The problem with the SDT tool was that when we created it, it was a bit too big. People saw on the screen a lot of information and they had to select between two options. And for each option, they had plenty of information. If you look at it, it would be the combination of different items and they all contained a lot of text. And the problem is, when your users, when your participants see a lot of text, they stop reading after the first or second line and then they make a decision based on the first 2 lines they saw. You can resolve this issue by introducing the randomization when you develop your discrete choice experiment, as you have seen in my previous videos. But it didn't really work because it was still a lot of text and we wanted them to read it. And that is why we decided to split the experiment and make the experiment for these 3 attributes. Was the first experiment and the scalable attribute. And then we had the second experiment, which was this one, and we just ran 2 experiments. But the problem was that if we wanted to do it like this, then we needed to run 2 experiments and wanted to be part of 1 experiment. And we needed to split the experiment, and I'm going to show you in a second how I did it. The second problem I encountered was one by my students, and he wanted to compare 2 products, and he wanted to compare, let's say, apples and oranges. And his main idea was to see what are the different attributes of apples and oranges which make people pay more or less. Let's make it so simple. So we had like apples, and we had oranges, and we also had here, for example, price, and we had form, and let's say we had size. And the price could be, for example, €1, €1.20, €1.40, €1.60. The form can be conventional, or let's say with issues, with meta issues, skewed, or I don't know. Slightly damaged, and the size would be, let's say, small, medium, and large or big. And you see already if you, and this was the fruit, and if you, I'm sorry, I just have to turn off all the messengers running in the background. The problem is that if you make a discrete choice experiment with this one, then it can happen that in one of the experiments you will have on the screen apples compared to oranges. And although the price and the form and size, these attributes are universal for these 2 fruits, you should not compare apples with oranges. And we didn't find a way how you can restrict the option that only one option is shown, that you compare always apples and always oranges. And that is why the good selection would be to delete this attribute and create just a second experiment, which will look like this. And here you have the oranges. And again, you want to combine two of these discrete choice experiments in one experiment and run it. And I'm going to show you how you do it. Let's see whether I managed to do it fastly. You can follow, otherwise I will just click on the pause button to show you how it would work. So I go to my SDT conjoin tool, which starts in the background. Would it start? Yeah, it started in the background. And instead of creating the first attribute fruit, which you don't see because it's on the second screen, but you will see it in a second, hopefully. No, you will not. But anyway, instead of creating this attribute, fruit, and adding two levels, apples and oranges, I decided to skip this attribute and develop the first one, the price. So we just edit it and make the attribute price. Edit, and the price, the levels would be €1. And then adding the window appears on the second screen, that is why you don't see it. Then we add the next attribute, €1.4. And we add the next attribute, which is €1.6. Okay, we add the next attribute, which is form. And you see that in the form will have the attributes for the form will be conventional. And we add a second one, slightly damaged. And we have also the attribute size. We just make it simple. And the levels for the size are small. Then we have the medium. And we have the attribute big. Okay, these are the attributes. And now if I have two fruits, if I had only one, I usually recommend my students to use about 10 up to 12 decision options, because otherwise people will stop running the experiment. If you split it in two, you actually can make 7 and 7. That's why they make 7 comparisons with regard to apples and 7 with regards to oranges. You go to edit. You go to settings. Here you have the randomization. You don't need to click it because a small experiment would be working. We need 7 decisions and each decision should contain 2 decision options. Here we go, and save export to PHP. And when I'm saving it, I will just, let's see what okay, let's save it here. And we save it as experiment, let's say fruits. Part 1, and it is done. So we have now the apples saved here. Now I can theoretically, exactly, I forgot to export also to HTML format for the Qualtrics. So it will be again fruit questions. Okay. If I made it correctly, the 7 options will appear. Let's see what we have here. Yeah, you don't see it, but we have it here. We have the 7 options and fruit part 1 PHP. Now I'm going to show you the trick. First of all, you need to upload a file to your hosting. I click on upload, select the file, which is then, let's try to find it. And here it is, somewhere here, fruits part 1 PHP. Open and then upload. I think it's worked. Yeah, and if we want to see how it worked, this is my hosting. I just go to a new window, enter it here, / and it is now fruits part 1.php. And we click on OK, and here they are. Here are the options which are randomly generated. Now I go to Qualtrics, go to the survey. This is the dummy survey I play with each time I develop something like this. And here I need to add several things. The first one, I need to add a new question. Let's create it right here. This will be our Other question will be multiple choice question. And here we need to add the data from our HTML file, which is here. We take the first task, go to edit with Notepad++. This is the app I'm using for editing it. And I just copy everything from here, go back to my Qualtrics, go to Rich Content Editor, go to the source, and I enter the information here. So we have now the solution. It is still not the best one, but we work on it. And let's see what else I usually do. First of all, we need two options. First one, let's call it here the Apple 1. Actually, it should be Apple type 1. If you know the specific name, let's say the I think what kind of apples do we have here in the region? I cannot remember. Apple type 2. We have the options right here, and please carefully read the options. Which of these apple sorts, maybe apple sorts is better than apple types. Apple sorts do you prefer? And let's say apple sort 1 and apple sort 2. Okay, the only thing I usually add, I make these two columns of the same size. I will not do it right now. So apple sort 1, and we have here apple sort 2. I don't explain the details because I have the details in my previous videos. If you want to know how to create this experiment, just go to one of my previous videos and then you will know how to do it. And now it will not work because we don't have this data. You see these nice fields. This is the piped text. It means it tries to take this information from the external file, but at the moment I didn't connect my external file to Qualtrics. So if I want to connect it, I go to survey flow, I add a new element, and this will be a web service. Here I move it upwards. I explain in one of my previous videos why it should come first before any question. And here I can add this nice file with the information I have. So here, be sure that the method is set to get. Click on test. The fields were found. We select all of them and we embed the data. Okay, 63 fields. Not so bad. Click on apply. And let's go to see whether it worked. We go to the survey. And we click on preview. And hopefully the first question of your discrete choice experiment will appear now on the screen. Yes, it is here. So if I restart the survey, it will be different option and you have to select, is it apple sort 1 or apple sort 2 that you prefer. But what should we do then with oranges? Because if I do it with oranges, actually it should be the same question because the items are the same. I just need to know that these are oranges, that people know these are oranges, and I need to get the correct data here. And what I need to do, there are several things I need to do. The first one, I need to create a file, the PHP file for my oranges. And I do it in the following way. This is my file, fruits part 1. I made a copy of it and paste it again. So we have now here, and rename it in part 2. And I can theoretically import the file, but the problem is, I don't know whether I should show you the problem, but I think, yeah, why not? I just show you what the problem is. We go here, upload a file, and I upload now the file part 2. And I open it and uploading. Yes, it has been uploaded. And look, this is the information from the old file, the part 1. And you see F11, F111, and so on. If I go now to the part 2, it is actually the same file. It will create also the same variables. And this is the problem, because at the end you want to know that the variables are saved, stored differently, that you know that the variable F11 belongs to apples and a different variable, let's say M11 or F211, refers to oranges. That is why you do the following. You go to the file, which is the part 2, right click and open with Notepad++. And actually, if you go through the code, it's pretty easy. It creates a matrix with all these items that you entered, and it takes, let's say, the first item is price, and randomly selects one of these 4 items. Then it takes the second item, conventional, the form, and then it takes either conventional or slightly damaged, and it makes different combination. And it stores them into variable, and you need only these two lines. The line number 94 in my event can be a different line if you have more items, but this is the line where it creates the variable name. Look at this, f minus. It creates the variable f minus, and then it comes, for example, 1, because it is the fruit form, and then f2, it is the fruit size, and so on. So we have two places here, and you just have to substitute them with something, and I substitute them with oranges. Let's take the O. And now we save this file and upload it again. So we go back to my server, and we substitute the previous file, fruits part 2, with the new file, fruits part 2. And if we do it correctly, then next time I renew this page, you will see instead of F11 and F12 will be O11. So yeah, you see, now it is O, and we don't have no Fs. So there are two places where you have to substitute it. Now you go to Qualtrics, and you do the following thing. First of all, you create a new question. Let's say we create a new block, and the new block starts with a text question. Something like, thank you for answering my questions on apples. Now I would like to ask you about your preferences concerning oranges. Yeah. We add a new question. This is again the multiple choice. And actually we can copy this question. We can just go to rich content editor, go to your source view, copy, and paste it here. Rich content editor, source. You paste it here. And we have now two identical questions. This one would be, of course, the question 2. And here will be oranges. Sort 2. And here we have the oranges sort 1, and we have the oranges sort 2. And the third option, we don't need the third option. But it will not work. Look at it. It will take the values from the different file. But from which one? Oh, sorry. Okay, let's make with a page break. Not so bad. If I go again to my survey flow, I have only one file imported. This is the PHP part 1. So what we need to do is we add a new add below. We take the web service, and here we copy the new file, part 2 PHP. Go in here and adding it here. Testing all and embedding all data. Okay, 63 fields, because the same number of fields, we have the same attributes, just a different products. Click on apply. Going back to the survey, and now we have the first question, which takes the data from the file with the variable f1, f11, f12, and so on. And we have the second file, which should take the different variables. And the only thing we need now to change is right here, instead of F and O. In my experiment, I did just F1 and F2, but you can do it with O. You can use any other variables. It's just important that you know what kind of variables you use. O, again O, and again O. And we now the preview, go to the preview. The survey is restarting. We have the apples, and let's say we prefer this sort 2. Okay. Thank you for answering question on apples. Now I'd like to ask you preferences concerning oranges. Oh, oranges, a typo. Okay, sorry. And here are the oranges. And this variable is already taken from the second file. Now we just need to be sure that the data is stored correctly, and this is the most important part. We click on publish. Okay. now we get the correct link, copy link, and we test it really on the computer. And let's see what happens here. We just click anything, apple sort 1, okay, oranges sort 2, okay, and just write something because it is the old file I'm just playing with, the country, and clicking just something, doesn't matter what is important, what is not. It is a dummy survey where I play with my students and show them different options on how to ask questions. Okay, now we go here, we go to data and analysis. Might take a while. Click on export. Why it is not exporting data? Should be there. One more time, results. No, I don't want to import, I want to export data. Just a second. Now I found what it was, we just needed to wait 5 seconds until the file was saved. Go to export data and export to SPSS. We're downloading the file, and what we want to see is just that the data has been stored correctly. Okay, opening the file. And let's see what we have here. We are interested in the variables, and let's see, we have the variables f11. These were the variables for the first experiment, and these are the variables o11, o21, and as you can see, we have already the size. So what has been seen on the screen, what they did, what we did, and what kind of decisions we made. Which is, I think, pretty cool. So now you learned how to create 2 discrete choice experiments within only one experiment, Qualtrics experiment, and how to collect the data and store the data. And I hope that this trick will help you, especially have 2 products that you have to compare, which are a bit different, and that is why you want to compare apples and then oranges. Or if you have 2 large experiment and you would like to split it into 2. Remember that if you split your file into 2, if you go to this option here, then you have some weaknesses. The weakness is that you will not be able to compare the difference between the option 2 here and option 5 here. If you had these options all in one experiment, you would be able to do it. You would be able to convert, let's say, from this option into price and this option into this option. If you have 2 separate experiments, you will not be able to do it. But there is also an advantage that your users will, first of all, make more decisions as they are more simple. You can make, instead of 10 decisions, you make 7 decisions and 7 decisions for the second option, second part of the experiment. And it will not be overloading your users, and they will go through the experiment till the end and will not skip some of the questions and will not just stop making your experiment. With this in mind, wish you good luck with your experiments, and maybe it is an additional trick that will help you to make discrete choice experiments of better quality with a higher number of answers and higher number of respondents. See you and good luck.